you have that friend, they have that person that you love, but you can't be around, that they're bad for you, that they would do. That's how I had to look at my life. I had to really focus. I had to really, like, when created the meditation with me.
And as I started doing this, now this addiction was taking over me. Now it no longer was, I'm going to try this. Now I need it.
Sugar is more addictive than heroin or cocaine. You can see the studies, rats going to Oreo cookies instead of heroin, rats going to water with sugar instead of cocaine. The studies are there.
I think we're just going to jump right into it, and let's talk to Arielle and Omar. I think we've got a big night ahead of us. So you know Arielle Butler from a show we did with the hypnotherapist Cray Musney. Arielle was hypnotized, and it was a really powerful experience. For all of us who were watching that. As I said, she's an actress and activist, and she is a recovering heroin addict and has been sober for over a year. Her goal is to bring awareness and knowledge of addiction and how it affects the person and the people around them. And then Omar, is a host of Red Hot Topics with Dr. Ronnie, and I know him, of course, from the For Life team, and his Omar, I found out, was on drugs for over 20 years. So he is actually just going to share his story, as I said, for the first time publicly. Welcome, Arielle. Welcome, Omar. How are you guys tonight?
Doing great. Thank you for having us on here. Arielle, I'm excited to learn about you as well, because I see that bright smile, and I know where you came. I'm like, wow, it's great to see people, overcoming and crushing this, because this is possible. I'm glad to see and glad to be part of this.
The exact same way. When she told me 20 years, and people always tell me, you don't look like what you've been through. You don't look like it at all either, Omar. And that's what the blessing that comes along with keep going and keep maneuvering and keep giving back. It comes back to you tenfold. And I believe that, and I know that, and I can't wait to hear your story. I'm excited. Thank you guys for once again having me on here. I'm so blessed and honored to be a part of this show with you guys.
Well, I'm excited. And Arielle, I know you. I've been a fly in the wall through the past 10 years of your heroin addiction. And I love you to bits. And I've always sent through your mom my love and support, and just, you could beat it, and I don't know if that helped, but I am sure glad to see you just glowing tonight. You really are. So good on you. So let's get into some of the weeds here, the details of addiction. Arielle, I'll start with you. Do you recall when your addiction began? What was happening in your life?
I was going through a midlife crisis. I was in middle school at the time, and I was on a soccer team. I was athletic. I was in track. I did all that. And my soccer coach, I won't ever forget, he told me, you could lose a few pounds. So already in my head, I was dealing with traumatic experience. I was molested by someone in my family at 13. And I was already not sure who myself was. So when he said that, the first thing that I did was I loved food. I love food so much. So I start throwing up my food. I became bulimic. I was hiding food under my bed. My mom ended up taking off my door in my room because she didn't trust me. I couldn't take a shower by myself because I was in there throwing up. I had those tendencies that addicts have later when you look back at your life, when you start to see, when you become addicted. I became addicted to throwing up my food at that time. And that's where it started for me. So when that happened, I had to get my teeth done because of that, because of the bacteria and everything that came in my mouth. And when I was a dentist, they had to do all work in my mouth, and they ended up prescribing me Percocets and overly prescribing me. Like I was able to call them later that week and say, I'm already out. My pain is entirely too high. I need more. So they were just prescribing me an abundance of Percocets. And that's when it all started for me. I was 18 at that time when I ended up getting off of having an eating disorder and going straight to opiates completely. I ended up dating someone who introduced me to Roxy's, and that's when everything went crazy for me. I was working at a jewelry shop at the time, and I was stealing their gold and selling it when I got off work to pay for my habit. That was just the beginning. When I say how little, when you think back of how the little things that you start with, that you start to see yourself doing, and then you go back to you fast forward to now, it just like anything, when you start with something small, you eventually gradually get higher up, and you want more, and you want better, and you want that better feeling. So I ended up getting on heroin, being introduced to heroin. My drug dealer was out of Roxy's at the time, and he introduced me to heroin. And that's when my family, no one had any clue at all. And the news ended up reaching out, saying they were interested in doing a documentary because heroin was hitting our streets. It was horrible. I was hooking up with the #1 dealer coming from New Orleans to Baton Rouge every week, and they ended up coming to me, and my mom being like, I don't know what is going on with my daughter at all. I started off snorting it, and then I learned how to eject it. I learned how to wrap up my arm, draw a vein, and do it. And it wasn't easy doing that at all. For the first time, I blew out my arm. I messed up my veins. I did all kinds of things, but I wanted that high so bad. So when they reached out to my mom, they were like, well, there's heroin going around. And they ended up doing a documentary and it spanned 10 years of me going in and out of addiction, me being clean, showing them me having kids and me falling back out again. For some reason, heroin became my best friend to this day. That is someone that I know, you have that friend, they have that person that you love, but you can't be around, that they're bad for you, that they would do. That's how I had to look at my life. I had to really focus. I had to really, like when Cray did the meditation with me, it opened my eyes to so many things. I'm like a baby. I'm brand new. I'm reborn. I haven't looked at a sunrise in so long. I haven't smelled the flowers. I haven't done anything like that because my life was literally around waking up. I couldn't tie my shoes unless I had a shot. I died in front of my family. They had to revive me. Like, I don't know if y'all have seen Pulp Fiction, but the movie when they put the needle in her heart, that happened to me, and my mom had to be there. My children found me dead in my bed. My son was 6 months old and I went to get high. My mom said, are you going to leave him? You're really going to leave him at 6 months old? I'm leaving because that's what my life, that is what all I could see when I went to sleep, when I woke up, when I ate. That's all my life was about. That's all, and it took me, I'm a year sober now, and I'm so different. I catch myself, Omar, can you agree? I catch myself looking at myself and being like, oh my God, like that's this is who I am now. I'm not a junkie, because I was a junkie. I was that girl. You know, I lived that life. I did those things, and I had to build those relationships back up. I had to rebuild myself. Number one, myself. That was the number one thing. I had to really sit down and figure out why, after 12 years of my life, do I keep going back to heroin? When I know this thing has killed me, I've died. I haven't been able to see. I have had bruises on my arms. I've been beat, left for dead. And I could not back away. I could not leave it alone. I could not grasp why. I'm not crazy. I know I'm not crazy. I'm an educated woman. And that's what people fail to realize. It can be anybody. I've talked to soccer moms. I've talked to lawyers. I've been around anybody who have worn long shirts because they have needle marks all on their arms. That's the real life. That's real. It does not have a face. It does not look like, because you look some certain way that looks like a junkie. No, it can be your mom. It can be your daughter. It can be your sister. It can be anybody, because it was me. It was me. And at 10 years old, would I have thought that? No, I wouldn't have thought that at all.
Well, let's ask Omar to share his story. The 10-year-old Omar, you were fairly close to 10 years old when you started.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I was actually 11, and I was in 6th grade. It's powerful here in Arielle. It just shocked me, but a lot of similarities pop up because of a lot of patterns repeat within this addiction. I wouldn't even call it journey, this nightmare that happens. Mine as well began very little. I came with childhood trauma. My mom pretty much left me with my grandparents so they can raise me for a bit, because she was going through some struggles. She had divorce and all that. And as I started as a kid, I was molested at the age of 8, and by a family member as well. That started working in my head, like, dang, my mom just left me here. This is going on. So I had a lot of rage inside of me. I just had like a lot of stuff going on in my head. And then at the age of 11, I went back to my mom. Well, she picked me up, and she had moved several places. And then at this point, I went back living with her. So I'm in 6th grade, it's 6th grade graduation. And I was a little influenced by 9th graders and some others, and saying, hey, you got to celebrate and do it the right way. And I kind of like had that curiosity and wanted to say what it was. I started with smoking weed, something that people call it. So that's just, a very sane drug. It's not like something critical, but that's where I started. And as you see, I was actually somebody who nobody thought I was doing it. Like my teeth were white. I was a very active adolescent. I was in basketball. I was in judo. I was always smiling, always happy. So my eyes were naturally kind of chingy. I wasn't really showing much signs at that age. So then at 14, I started popping pills, Percocets, Xanax, Roxy's, like also Arielle mentioned. And as I went, I started then you start growing into that. Let's mix it up a little bit. Let's mix the weed with the pills. Let's mix it up. And at the age of 14, I was already, like, I was hanging out with people who were 18, 21. Like, that was my crew. Like, people who were way older than me. And I was already in that group, accepted. And I'm over here thinking I'm this, huge rock star, thinking I'm with the right people. But I chose to be surrounded with people who at that time I thought they were accepting me. And I said, this is the place where I belong, where I'm not being kicked out. I'm not being left behind. I'm not being abandoned. And I had that always working in my head. Like, damn, that's just my childhood just went away in a way where I didn't get to enjoy. But I always had that inside me, and holding that grudge, holding that as years went by. Then at the age of 16, at 18, I began coke and heroin. Heroin, I just started snorting it. I never did it through the veins, but I was so, like, I was so clever with it that I can do it in such a way where no one around me will ever notice. And as I started doing this, now this addiction was taking over me. Now it no longer was, I'm gonna try this. Now I need it.
Right.
So I used to find my way to get the money. Like my mom never even had money to buy me sneakers. I could barely make it in there. So I started making a way to get this money. I had learned how to cut hair at the age of 13. So I was already cutting hair. I would steal. I was stealing airbags from cars. I was doing crazy stuff. At the age of 19, 18, 19, I met my wife at high school, who's my wife now. And even in she being so close to me, she never noticed all these signs. But there were patterns that were coming up. I was sometimes like really aggressive. I was like, I just wanted to be out. I didn't care about anything. I'm going out and I'm leaving. So she started seeing, noticing stuff like that, but couldn't pinpoint what was happening to me. My behavior was changing, like extreme. Like I was always a really nice kid. I would get along with everybody, but I had a side of me that no one was expecting because I was this happy kid, always smiling. I had good grades. Like I wasn't that crazy kid who was just dropping out. I didn't finish high school on time, but I finished it at nighttime. But it doesn't mean I was dumb in school. I was getting good grades, so I didn't give anyone any signs to really see something is wrong with this child. And as years went by, then I already had my daughter. I was 19. At the age of 19, I was so depressed because I couldn't find a way to provide. And I left for one of my friends, Miguel, first, and I OD'd on coke. I wanted to die that time. That didn't happen. God said it ain't your time yet. So God had a plan already without even knowing it. That's why I want to tell Arielle, God has a plan for you as well. And you're here because there's a purpose to fulfill. And here's where the story begins so you can inspire others. As years went by, I became this great actor. Like I knew how to act in front of my family. I knew how to act in front of everybody, including my wife, my kids when they were small. No one ever noticed or even thought that I was that deep. I would say, yeah, I'll smoke weed once in a while. That was my excuse. I was no longer in that. So I got to a point where it was taking over me. I couldn't control it. It was just I have to find a way to get the money. Whether I steal something, I'll sell something. There has to be a way to get that money, and I found a way, but I needed to snort it. I needed to feel it because it was that escape from the pain of my trauma of my childhood. It was an escape from that to remember what had happened and everything. It was just a little relief. Okay, I'll snort it, and I'm like, okay, I'm in my cloud. Nothing is bothering me. I don't think about anything. The world could just fall down, and I didn't care. So, but that started changing a lot of behaviors in me. I no longer was caring about how I looked or anything. I started like because it starts getting to you. You think it's smooth, and you think it's something that you could just dominate, but
Yeah.
it's really taking over you. It's taking over that, and I didn't have no rule over my own spirit. The Bible said that he who had no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is fall down and without walls, and that's where I was living. I had no control. It had me, and the day I wouldn't have it, it was just I would end up big problems, legal problems. I would end up fighting out there. I would end up doing crazy stuff just because I needed that hit. I needed that hit to calm me down, to soothe up a little bit the pain and and just feel that high for a bit.
Did you, this is for both of you. So Omar, since you're on camera right now, you talked about your family not being aware of this and the people around you. And Arielle, I know this, you mentioned the same thing. When did they figure it out? Or did you reach out to them and say, look, I have a problem?
Me, honestly, well, my wife was the first one to know. My family around pretty much never knew. And my mom found out about 2 years ago when I kind of opened up and told her about it. She never even expected that from me. Like, you? Like, yeah. And I told her, I said, but, obviously It's been now, 2012. It's been 12 years actually. I've been sober. I thank God for that. Feel great. I don't need to go back. I don't need nothing like that because now my new high is on people, seeing people so successful, seeing people, being able to change lives. My new high is inspiring other people, and God had already changed that in me. It took a while because even though when I started going to church and I gave my life to Christ and I said I want to change, I had thoughts. I said I want to,
Mm.
nobody's gonna notice. I'm just gonna go out there and just it comes to your mind. And I'm saying this and I got my wife next to me. Like there was times where she probably was suspecting, but I wasn't even, but I was really going through like, oh my God. It was, and on that same note, there were times where my behavior it was just so obvious that I was either so depressed, and we're gonna get to the later story of what happened in July of 2011. But there were times where I didn't even want to be home. And it almost caused me my divorce. I've told my stories other times about going to Miami, following this dream with the music. I wanted to be an urban artist, reggaeton artist, but that's how much people knew about me. I got to a point where even people close to me around in the industry, everybody knew that I had a dream. Nobody knew I had this addiction that was taking over me because it wasn't noticed. Like I couldn't really at that point it was so it was taking over me so much that I knew how to act in front of people, and I'll find a way to not even make it doubtful. Like I'm doubt something is going on. No, nobody could pick up on it unless I told them. And yeah, there were probably one or two people in my whole life because they saw me in my chill, and they saw me in that space where there's something that you're doing something more than weed and whatever you mentioned. Like, nah, you're bugging. Because whoever's in the world like that, the scratches, the face, sweating. You'll notice that. But somebody who's not aware of what's going on, they won't notice it because you're just partying, you're just out there. But yeah, nobody really noticed the signs that was happening for
Well,
years.
that's interesting because Arielle, I'm going to tell you something. I noticed your eyes. I noticed your eyes, when you're sober, your pupils are normal. I'll just call
Yeah.
it. And when you're high, and I noticed it just from pictures or videos of you or being on the Attitude Shift show with you. I noticed when you were high because your pupils were dilated. Is that, am I right? Like
You're so
that's
right.
a
I
sign?
look back at our shows now, and I can't believe I made it through half those shows at all. I don't. You asked the question, how did my mother knew things because she was an addict. She dealt with the same thing at one time, so she knew that there was things, but they didn't know I was actually injecting myself with heroin. They ended up finding the needles, and it was too late. I was already just out there, but no one in my family realized, no one in my family, no one had any idea. Like Omar said, when you're an addict, you can hide it. That is your goal. That is your everyday things, to be able to hide that and um, be able to not show that to people that you want not to see, the people that you care less about, that you don't mind them seeing, was that. I started to get where I would leave stuff around. I would leave my needles in the bathroom. I would leave my scarf that I would tie around my arm in the bathroom. I wouldn't. When the last time that I passed out, I OD'd. Was my dad just recently sent me the video of when I overdosed and how I was out. I wasn't breathing. The ambulance, 10 people were around me and they were just waiting. I was just out. I did not, and seeing that now, just seeing that that's where I was not even 4 or 5 years ago, is just, it's just amazing. It's just, it is so, when you have to give back, like Omar said, it's so important. That is my goal now. That's what everything is about, because of what I've been through, who I've hurt so much, the people that I've given pain to, that I've lied to, that I've stolen from. My goal is to give that back to them, to let them see that I'm not that same person. And it takes time. If anybody who knows somebody that they love who's an addict and that they're struggling, it takes time. It takes patience to learn how to love and to learn how to grow again with them, to learn how to be able to put your purse next to them. My mother would not ever have me go in her purse to go get anything, ever. You know, now 6 months in, I'm doing that, you know, and it's the little things that the everyday people wouldn't recognize and notice. But for me, they're special and they're important because of how I was and where I was for so long.
Yeah, in my own life, I think everybody's been touched. Obviously, I said earlier, you know, if you've been touched by cancer, you've probably, you know, addiction is the same. Somebody in your life, you know, has had an addiction, whether it is to drugs or alcohol. You guys actually haven't talked about it being addicted to alcohol. It's drugs, and some pretty hardcore drugs. But there's so many addictions now. So your family became aware of it. What did they do? Did some of them remain enablers, or did they just intervene? I know Arielle's story much better than I don't know Omar's, but Arielle, what happened when the family found out?
It was hard. My mother did not, she didn't know what to do. Like I said, she didn't want to see me hurt. She didn't want to see me in pain. She didn't want to see me sick, throwing up. She brought me to the dope man house. She's done that. She didn't know any better. She didn't know what to do. You know, she did all that she could, that in her mind at that time. And I look at, now that I have a daughter who's now 6, and I look at my daughter and I look at how my mom used to look at me, and how she used to just look at me with so much pity and so much just disappointment. And that was the worst feeling ever. The worst feeling ever. You know, my dad stopped talking to me. Everyone stopped talking to me. I had no one. I had no one but my mother. My mother was the only person that was trying to be there for me the best way that she knew how, because now things are so different in drugs. I was addicted to fentanyl. I don't know if you guys know what fentanyl is, but it's a man-made drug now, and it's a lot cheaper than heroin. And my last relapse, I ended up being addicted to fentanyl. And that detox is the worst in the entire world. The worst thing. You're hallucinating. I saw needles around my face. My family stuck by me when I wanted to run out the house, when I wanted to just take my clothes off and just scream. You know, they stuck by me. You know, my mother, you know, Siobhan, I mean, she ended up making a podcast called Under the City Lights, Louisiana, because she was out under the city of Louisiana looking for me everywhere, in dope houses, in trash cans, in hotels, in streets. She was looking for me everywhere. It didn't matter. She did it. She tried, because that's what you do for people that you love, you know, and we don't know any better. You know, she didn't know any better.
Powerful.
Yeah, isn't it? Omar, how about you? When your family found out, your wife, so you had wife and kids when you were still going. Arielle was too.
While I was going through the process, I did have my kids already. So back in 2008, I ended up having this crazy fight with my father, and I left to Miami. Following this dream with the music. When I got over there, I mean, yeah, my family already known about the weed stuff and all that. So I was being treated a bit cold. Like people were kind of distant with me. If I would call and say, hey, I'm going through a struggle, nobody want to hear that. So that right there was already family from my mom's side and all that. They didn't want to hear about me as I was the troublemaker. But to top that, the little cherry on top, I left to Miami. My wife knows that I'm going through certain, changes. She knows what I was doing in a certain way. So I get over there. I'm in Miami where you have a completely crazy life if you decide to. Like you have it at your hand. Little do you know, while following this dream that was a nightmare, God had another plan. But in that time, I received a letter. It was a big envelope, a divorce letter. And I don't blame her. I can't blame her. She's right here next to me. Because what woman wants to go and you don't know what he's about to do. You don't know where he's going to get involved. You don't know what he's doing out there. And you don't want that problem to bring it to your house. You don't want to say he's going to come back and God knows what he did over there and then bring all that problem over here. So, and she didn't know what my life was going. But on that, I go through this certain depression. Still going to parties, still doing my performances, still all that. But there was a little change where I left to Puerto Rico. I leave to Puerto Rico, and when I got there, nobody wanted to help. Like I'm looking for a place to stay. Nobody really was like, no, you're not gonna stay here. Oh heck no! Like because like Arielle said, nobody trusted me with their stuff. Nobody trusted me. They knew they knew a little bit about what's going on, not deeply what was happening, but nobody trusted me. So I had already that depression going on. I get to Puerto Rico, and I find myself, I'm about to divorce, lose my family, my kids. My wife wants nothing to do with me. My family doesn't want to even accept me to give me a place to stay so I could try to catch up and build myself up. They didn't want to help, but one of my uncles, where I grew up in my grandparents' house, he was by himself. He was also going through a certain stage, and he left me there. Said, "Well, you could stay here, but you're gonna stay in the basement." Basically, that's where I was staying. And I got a call from a friend who was a professor at Hialeah Beauty Schools. I was going to Hialeah Beauty Schools to, become a barber. And he calls me. He said, "Look, I want to talk to you. God put this in my heart. And I just want to tell you that he's seen what you're going through. You're going to become a leader of multitudes. You're going to show people. You're going to inspire people." Like I'm there hearing him, but I'm not listening quite exactly. And I'm kind of almost laughing at him. But at the same time thinking, like, either this is God talking to me or this is me thinking. But I was at that same moment, that same day, I was already thinking of, this is it. I know exactly what to do. Just put myself in there. I know how to take care of and get rid of my life easily. I know exactly what to do. And I was having suicidal thoughts. And that day, I decided I wasn't going to snore anything. I wasn't going to put anything in my body. And I locked myself up for 3 days in that basement, crying, trembling, shivering, cold, like seeing things, hallucinating, just breaking out of what was taking over me. And it took me 3 days. I vomited. I did anything. But God, at that moment, I say God, because there's no other one, man. He was the one taking care of me the whole time. When I go to the barbershop, after those 3 days where I was working at, this guy gave me a DVD set, and then the title of the DVD was a preaching, and God, and in that was saying, "What I took from you, I'm gonna give you back." And here I am thinking about my family, my wife, my kids, but no one wanted to feel anything with me. No one wanted to have a word with me. I decided, I said, I want to change. How can I prove this? My wife didn't want to hear it. You always say the same thing. You always say that, and then you relapse, you go back again. You're going to say, "No, this is just for now because I want to take my mind off the problems." Because those were my words. Like I had a way of putting it that I'll make my wife believe that, okay, I'm going to change this time and I'm going to go for it. Don't worry. Now, you know what? I'm just going to go smoke a blunt. I'm just going to go smoke a blunt. I'm not going to do nothing else. Boom. Back in a relapse. So my wife didn't want to hear it. When my family was treating me the certain way, I let her know, "Look, I'm giving everything I got. I want my kids back. I want you back. I want you to understand that I need you and my kids in my life, and I'm willing to give up everything. She didn't believe it until I gave that space of at least 6 months, where then she said, Michael Jordan like had the last dance in 2020. I had one last chance in 2011. God gave me one last chance, and that's why I'm here talking to you tonight.
And that, what an incredible story you guys have. And we're, you know, we're going to be finishing the show here, but there's so much to talk about. I think you need to come back. I think the two of you should go on a speaking circuit. I'm just telling you that there is just, people would be raptured by what you have to share, because I have so many questions. I mean, so each of you, you know, Arielle, you've been sober for, oh, here we go. I'm gonna just ask Donna Butler, the writer and director of Divine Intervention and Arielle's mom that Arielle was talking about. Do you have a few words to say? I know I asked you to come on as the parent on the panel, and you said you were going to be too emotional, but is there anything that you want to share with the audience after hearing both Omar and Arielle?
First of all, Omar, amazing. You know, that's your story. Y'all's stories are similar, but you know, everyone's journey is different. So congratulations. And I mean, you're doing it. You're doing it. So that's my big thing. But for Arielle to sit here real quick, I wasn't going to do this, but I was struggling downstairs and I can't really see on my phone. I just wanted to say this probably is the best show Siobhan have ever done. This is probably the best show we have ever done. Because look, you mentioned her eyes, you mentioned all of that. That was really difficult when we would do a show. And I knew, I mean, she went in the bathroom for one show that we did on location and she got high. She said, I can't do it if I'm not high. So we did a show when I fully was aware that what she had just done. So as a parent who didn't know any better, as a parent who wanted to know better, as a parent who tried to save their child's life, she said it. I really didn't know better. So what I know now is you have to love the person no matter what. You've got to give your all to the person no matter what. And you cannot ever think they don't want to stop. No one wants to live the way she was living. No one. No one. No one wants to live the way she was living. So with that being said, it's a choice. And she chooses to not do this. She chooses to stay sober. She chooses to be a better mother. She chooses that. And so I can't do anything more but continue to love her, support her, and do everything humanly possible to be that person she's always counted on me to be.
Yeah, you know, being sort of, as I said, a fly in the wall. I'm very close friends with you, Donna, and you know, I think we've been in previous lives together. We've been close.
Yeah.
And so I was aware of a lot of the things that were going on. I'm sure I heard just about this much compared to what was actually going on. But I think that you hit the nail on the head, is this to love the person. You know, they may steal from you. They may, you know, they may be doing some of the same things that happened to them. You know, I'm not saying that you guys did this, but just the way you were treated as, you know, as a child. You guys talked about molestation and these horrible things that happen to you. And I'm sure some addicts turn around and do the same thing to other people, right? And I'm not saying that I'm not like, you know, I don't have some level of addiction either. It's just never been so in somebody's face. You know, there's a lot of women out there, and especially as we're going in and through menopause, and you've got your families, you've got all this stress and all this stuff going on, that a couple of glasses of wine every night, it's not going to hurt you every night. And sometimes it's a bottle of wine, right? I think if there may be some people listening here who are probably going, yeah, that resembles me, right? So it's not just drugs, as I said earlier. But I wanted to ask you, and we touched on this during Cray Moosney's session with you, Arielle. Your mom and I were talking back and forth on chat, because we saw it was almost like a demon left you. And I actually asked your mother, did the demon leave her? Because do you, Omar and Arielle, I want to hear what you think. Do you think addiction is a battle for your soul?
1000%. It's a battle for your soul, because the more prisoner you are in that addiction, the more you're going to be, your life is done. Your life, you have no life, because it takes over you. It's not something that consciously or unconsciously you think you have control in a certain way, because you think, no, you know what, I could probably hold on a little bit. Oh, I'm not going to do it as much. But
Yeah.
down the road, it's just over you, because when you're in that state, you say, I must. You see, there's not an option when you're in addiction. It's not like, well, I'm gonna pass today, because your body's gonna withdraw. It's gonna say, I must do this. I must have this hit. I must have this, snore at least. And one thing you were mentioning about is the unconditional love. That is exactly one of the reasons most addicts that I've met and myself return to that point, because we found, quote unquote, that love in the hood. We found the love out there, in the street, where people like, yo, they love you, they love on you, and you don't get that same love and the same conditional love at home or somebody or with your family. So you find it out there. You think you're in the right place, but yes, 1000%, it is a demon that fights for your soul. You mean so good.
I agree 100%, Siobhan. I remember I told my mom specifically in the hospital, it's like my mind and my body are two different people, because my body is saying I need it. It's everything is saying that, but my mind, I don't want to do it. I know what it's going to lead to. I don't. And I always think about reasons why I would relapse. I was always in a bad space. I was always picking a fight. I was always starting a fight. I was always coming up with reasons to go back to that. No matter what, it's 100% a battle of evil between good, 100%.
Because here's what I see, because, my addiction to wine, I would say, and it was getting rid of pain, like I think there's probably a lot of women that either have prescription drug addictions and nobody knows it, and you wouldn't call yourself an addict, but you're doing prescription drugs, or a glass or a bottle of wine a day, and you fall asleep because you're in so much pain, or you're so tired that's sort of the light way of trying to deal with all the crap that's going on in your life. And are we not blocking our divine purpose? We're limiting our potential. I look back at my life and go, oh, I started drinking at 14 years old because it was a cool thing to do. If I have some friends on here or later that are from my elementary school, or, I think it was about age 14 that, I was taking a little bit of vodka or gin from my mom's liquor cabinet into a jar, tightening the lid, putting it in my backpack, and off I'd go to school, because I knew the kids and I would be running out, skipping school, the same school my father was the principal at before I arrived. But he wasn't there anymore. So I think I thought I could get away with it. And we would run down to the river together and skip classes. And we'd all have these little jars of alcohol. And at like 14 years old, you're starting, and probably nobody's ever heard this story, but I think we have to talk about it, because everybody probably has that story, and it was, I kept drinking and drinking. There was times when I just, I'd drink every day, right? I'd have one or two, even 2 glasses of wine, 1 glass of wine, I'd still have something, right? I've actually been sober since Christmas, if you want to put it that way. I haven't had a drink at all. Nothing. I'm not even interested in it, right? And I think that I just challenge anybody that is going through anything like this. If you're just having a glass of wine every day, try it without. It's actually making a difference in my life. And so, you know, here we are, we're, you know, we're children of the light, right? We have, I can tell because, you know, we all have very similar personalities. We're very outgoing and gregarious, and I think it's a hard road for us because we stand out, right? There's so many of us out there. It's not just the 3 or 4 of us sitting here right now, but I think that it because of peer pressure, you can't be the star. You can't be the person that's always positive. Everybody wants to bring you down a few pegs, right? So looking back, is there anything that either of you needed from anyone to get you out of addiction or to stop you from getting into your addiction?
I think for me, I needed that space where I was allowed to be myself, and at the same time inspired to become better. That's one of the things I can say and mention, at least in this community. Once, besides I met, you know, people at church and everything, my mentor, Jose Camacho, who has been gratefully, you know, I thank God for his life. But we all need that one place where people lift you up. See, the world is excellent at bringing you down in many ways. Social media could be a great factor for that. But one thing we all need is we need to find that community that lifts you up, believes in you, that knows you have this potential to become a better person, but you were just caught up in some stuff because we know we don't know much. And like you said, it's maybe 3 or 4 in here. We're going to speak to thousands. Why? There's people silently going through stuff like that right now that might not speak out. And I'm glad. It might sound a little counterintuitive, but I'm glad that God let me go through certain things in my life so I can now be an inspiration for others and be able to talk to them with authority, letting them know, listen, I did it. Let me tell you about me. Like, we did it. We overcame this. We overcame this addiction, obviously with the help of God, because I didn't have the strength. I don't know how I was going to do it, but God let me go through that so I can now talk to people with that authority, with the mindset of saying, listen, whatever you're going through, I don't know what in the world you've been through, but I've been through similar stuff, and I'm standing. I'm walking, I'm talking to people, I'm inspiring others, and I'm stronger than ever. I have my family, my kids. I have a 7-year-old grandson, for God's sakes. Like, who thought I would be able to enjoy my grandson at this age? People never betted at me. No one thought I would become anything in life. And here I am, not just giving a message of hope and be able to inspire others, but showing them the way that you can become a better person in this world. And all you got to do is just find the right people to surround yourself with. Find that love. Listen, sometimes we need to break out of the circle where we're at to find better people on the other side, because the people we're surrounded with are just minds that want to keep you stuck. Sadly as it is, you got to break out the circle around you in order to break out the circle of life that happens to you. You create what's going to happen to you with the change of your mind. If you keep thinking the same way, same repetitive is going to happen. You decided, like Arielle said, she chose, like your mom said, she chose a better life. She chose to become a better mom. She chose to become out of that so that now we can talk to those other moms who are probably going through different addictions, God knows what, other dads, other parents, other people, and be able to break them out of that, make this world a better place because we spoke to them.
Yes. First thing Omar said when he said that he's grateful that he went through this, it took me forever and a day to say that. All I kept saying was, why me? Why me? Why me? I never understood why did I keep going through this. I think back at when I was young and how I didn't know who I was at all. I didn't know who I was as a person. And getting to know myself and loving myself, that is the number one thing that I would have anyone to do, is to step back and get to know who you are. talk to yourself, have a conversation with yourself, listen to yourself. Your mind is the most incredible thing. And our minds have been so fogged for so long, so out of it. And to be able to think with a clear mind, to be able to walk up to someone and say, I've been through that same thing and I may not look like it, but you can do that same thing I did. That is a challenge to me when people tell me all the time, there's no way you were on dope for 12 years. Yes, I was. I can show you, I did that. And that's who I was, but that's not who I am now. I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a worker, I'm an actress, I'm an activist. I all these things now. And that's made me what I went through, my 12 years of being addicted to heroin and fentanyl made me who I am right now, sitting right here talking to you guys and having the ability to even speak and talk.
Well, I am going to say, I am so glad that you're here speaking and talking. Absolutely. And Omar, we're going to bring Dr. Rosanna Holt in because she's here to talk about the health aspects. And I want to hear from Omar too right now, because there is something that changed the trajectory of your life, and it has something to do with health. So first of all, Dr. Rosanna, comments about, what were these two doing to their health on a big scale?
Thank you, Siobhan. The truth is, so you expecting me to say a lot about health. They said it all. I have nothing to add to that because, as Donna said, it's love who fixes this. We all know how the body goes through all the changes when we use drugs in our body. Doesn't matter what kind of drugs you use. But that's not the most important thing over here. The most important thing over here is to know that anybody can go through that. Anybody. And only true love can help that. Yes, we have to be aware what we do and who is surround us. It is maybe needing that attention too. But I'm so I have so much respect for those two kids that are over here right now, sharing with us their whole life and be how they become, how they choose to do something different today for us. Like I have seen so many addicts in the hospital, but to have them over here, it's like you see another view, another side of the story of those human beings, because they are human beings. When you see them in the hospital, you see patients. When you see them over here, you see human beings. And it's such a difference. I'm so proud of them, so proud of them. You actually have given me so much teaching right now, because to be honest, you guys have the authority that I don't have. And I just can say, God bless you. And I'm so proud of you guys, so proud of you. We have to be aware who's around us and who's needing, who's crying for love. That's all what I can say, Siobhan.
Well, I appreciate you having anything to say. It's such a big topic, and there's so much depth to it. I want to ask Omar, the healing, where did nutrition and nutrition, Omar, where did it come into your life, and how has it changed your life?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, honestly, my health started declining badly right after when I stopped. About a year after, like my first year going into, maybe not complete year, I started suffering from chronic sinus, something I never had in my life because of what I had done to my body. A lot of chemicals had gone through there. I was doing a lot of stuff, so my body just started reacting badly. My immune system was completely low. And I used to have crappy eating because honestly, um, when you're on this type of drug, you eat and it just goes right back out. Most of the time, you just throw it right back out. It doesn't. You don't even digest it. So there wasn't much nutrition in my body. That's why I was kind of like, if you see me back then, thank God no one did. But I was certainly a lot frail in many ways. I felt weak. I wasn't so active as before because years started going by. So I started doing some lifestyle changes. I met through Jose Camacho, my mentor first at church. He started introducing me to the community of For Life. I started meeting these people. I started seeing different health options. I needed to boost my immune system because it was very low. I was getting sick for anything, and my sinus was killing me. Like I was just going, I needed something. If there was a reason to try to screw something up, like that would have probably been that sinus because my body was messed up. My body wasn't, reacting right, and I was really feeling the effects of what I did years ago. It started showing out at least within that year. Now, obviously, I started doing a lot of changes with my eating. I used to eat like a lot of fast food, a lot of crazy stuff, because that's wherever I can find anything to eat, that's what I would do. I wasn't thinking about healthy choices. I wasn't thinking about, better eating because I want to improve my health and my life. I mean, at this age now, with a 7-year-old grandson, I care more about my health than I ever did before because I wasn't thinking about that. Yeah, the lifestyle started changing, the eating habits, the time of eating, and obviously supplementation that started helping me greatly. I was able to find my my health back. I needed that strength. I needed vitality. I needed to find myself active again. I grew up when I was having my kids growing up. I wasn't much active with them, and that's something I kind of missed out. But I don't want to miss out with my grandson now. I mean, he's a thermonuclear kid, but I have the energy and the health now to be able to be there for him and support that thermonuclear. So I started seeing the changes right away, and I said, I have to make these choices because I need to recover. I'm still young. I feel young. Even as we age, we don't want to feel old. Even if we age, we want to feel young. We want to feel our vitality back, our energy back. So I think it's now more than ever. It's more important having the right choices, the healthy choices, knowing what we eat, and overall what we give our body, the raw materials, so it can heal itself, so it can recover from all the stuff that I went through.
I'm going to bring on Claudia Bohorquez. She's actually an expert at detox. Just, Dr. Ronnie is a medical expert at that, but Claudia does a lot of detox. She coaches people through detox. Do you think detox, like a nutritional detox? I'm not talking about the type of detox that Omar was talking about, where he was, going through the sweats and the hallucinations. Do you think that if people detox on a more regular basis, that something like addiction wouldn't take hold in their bodies?
Absolutely, Siobhan. One of the things that people have experienced through just a regular detox when they go off sugar, it's sometimes very similar to detoxing from I don't know the harder drugs, but drugs or alcohol. And the withdrawal feels the same. We had a chance to experience it when we did our first pilot group with Dr. Ronnie. And there's a lot of science and a lot of studies that sugar is more addictive than heroin or cocaine. You can see the studies, rats going to Oreo cookies instead of heroin, rats going to water with sugar instead of cocaine. The studies are there. So addiction, see, we wanted to do this show so that we could start with these hardcore addictions, which are the ones that touches us and with people that we love so much, like Omar and Arielle. But now we have to look into our smaller addictions. Like you said, Siobhan, thank you for coming out in the open with, maybe just a glass of wine that you think it's a glass of wine every day. What about not being able to stop eating just the regular things that we know are killing us? So that's where we go into our our new trend of inviting people to detox, because you think detox is only for drug addicts or alcoholics, or then you think that, you know, detox is when you swallowed some poison. But what we're not noticing is that we're poisoning our bodies every day, sometimes without knowing, with smog and all the things that we can't control, even washing our hands with a bad quality soap, or washing our hair, or putting on deodorant. So those are regular toxins that our body and our liver can still eliminate fairly well. But then when we are toxifying our body even more, because we already have so many things that are attacking it, and then we consistently keep giving our body sugar, bad quality food, we eat in times that we shouldn't, we eat in quantities that we shouldn't, we're not dividing our plate properly, then that's when our liver, which is the most amazing organ and does 500 things for us, says, I can't do it anymore. Like, you're not helping. You're not sleeping. You're stressed. You eat bad. You don't exercise, and you're expecting me to do the detox work for you. So our bodies are not built the way that they were before. Our liver cannot sustain anymore, and so definitely that's where we start working at, you know, for life, and to tell people, you know what, do a detox a year, 2 detox a year. Dr. Wani, she says that, listen, if you do a 21-day detox once a year, and you do smaller detoxes throughout every season, that's going to help that body go into that vacation mode, or that effect that the liver will actually have time to breathe. And so I always tell people, it's almost like having a vacuum cleaner. And I don't know if you've ever, probably this is the best example I give people. You're vacuuming, and then you're like, oh, that's not picking up. Oh, when was the last time I actually took out the filter? And then you take out the filter, and you're like, oh my God, or the bag, or whatever vacuum you have. And that's for the ladies. But for gentlemen, which we have a lot of them here, it's the filters in the car. Ladies, we don't watch the filters in the car that much. We only go to the car, the mechanic, and they'll take out the filters, like, oh, your filter needs changing, and the air conditioning filter is black, and you're like, how did that turn out like that? So my point is, those filters that we have everywhere, the HEPA filters for the machines that we have at home to clear out the air, the filters for the humidifiers and for the houses and the furnaces and everything has filters. But what about our own filter? What about that filter that it is our body? Because that's what we're so cheap with ourselves. Like, we prefer to buy a $100 meal and go out and celebrate Memorial Day or Mother's Day or whatever day, and buy, you know, $50, $100 gift or gift cards or roses. And then when you're like, you know what, you should give yourself a $200 or $300 gift every 3 months to detoxify your body. Oh, that's so expensive. No, I can use that money somewhere else. So we need to stop being cheap with ourselves. We really need to start analyzing that we talk about longevity, we talk about being healthy, but we don't want to leave our little addictions to sugar and cookies and chips and snacks. And we don't want to leave our addictions to little cocktails at cocktail parties, which are full of sugar. And we don't want to leave those little gratifying dopamine turn-ons that really are killing us. So if we're doing that, at least do the detoxification. If you can do both, which is leave the sugar, leave the wine, and obviously anything that is harder than that. And we could do a whole show on my brother, who's a psychologist, on I forgot what they're called, but you know, they're the shopping addictions, the internet addictions. So I think we'll do another show on that, Siobhan, but definitely we're going to be talking a little bit more about that community detox that we'll be doing in July 6th. So just keep on you tune on to our channels to watch for that. Before you tune out, Siobhan, I do want to say one thing about the talk tonight. And I want to be a speaker one day at the show with addictions, but I do want to say something to our speakers today. And Arielle doesn't know it, and Omar does. And I lost my ex-husband, who is the father of my son, on January 8th, 2023, to cocaine addiction. And I was addicted with him for a very, very long time. And when we were going to have the baby. That was the time that I was able to pull out because obviously we didn't want to hurt the pregnancy. And so I had a good excuse to finally pull out. The fact that we were going to have a baby pulled me out of that and left him behind. And Henry cannot tell the same story. And we lost him to that addiction, as probably you have lost friends, and Omar, you have lost friends. And when you lose one, when you've been the one that has pulled out, you feel that you left the ship on behind, but then you feel that you were not able to pull that person into safety with you because there was nothing else that you could do. And I could not do anything else. I had to leave them behind. And when you leave somebody behind to do that and just continue their life, and you can't do anything more but pray, and they don't listen and they don't do it, and then you lose them. It is such a hard pain. So my invitation, like I said in the chat, is share this show. Like Donna says, it's probably one of the best, but because it touches a lot of people. But if we don't want more people dead, we need to share this show, and we need to share that it is not out of guilt and out of fear and out of embarrassment that we can say we were addicts and now we're not. Because I hope that today, I don't think she's here, but I hope my friend Tanya is able to hear this show because this show will help her. And there's so many people out there that are not coming out, and we want to be able to touch them with our light. So thank you, Arielle. Thank you, Omar, and Siobhan, Jillian, everybody, Dr. Rosanna, for organizing this show. Donna, kudos to you as a mother, because I don't know what my mom would have done. I was like you, Omar. Everybody found out later on in life after you're like, oh, I was there. But I don't know what a mother's pain would be to go through this. So thank you. So back to you, Siobhan. We have so many more shows to do and so many topics we can touch that, you know, we just, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight, Real's talk, because it was amazing. Thank you so much.
Claudia, thank you for sharing your story as well. I did not know that. And I think, as I said at the beginning of the show, addiction probably touches everybody's lives. Omar, some final closing remarks from you. What advice to people that are still in it, deep in it? They might be listening to family members that are watching this happen to people.
Well, first off, I want to say it's been an amazing night. I want to congratulate each and one of y'all, especially Claudia, who brought that. But I want to say, Donna Butler, you are such a rock star mom. Like, we need more moms in this world like you to understand what people go through at those moments, because not everyone understands and not everyone is willing to give that love. So kudos to you for being so awesome, for standing there, for seeing the brightness of the smile of your daughter right now, just shining all over, inspiring the whole world with the story, and so many lives that are going to be touched. But I can tell you right now, if anybody on here or anyone out there that you may know, or anyone that's probably going to watch this down the road, you're probably against the fence. Let me just tell you, there's so much for you to offer this world. God has amazing plans with you. You are not done. You are not broken. It's not your fault. Whatever you went through, it's because life had to teach you something or prepare you for you to be an inspiration of others like we are doing today. So if you're against the wall, if you find a way, if you're quiet or you're silent or you're secret about it, you have an addiction, but you know it's just taking your whole darn life and you can't control it, the best thing you could do is find somebody like us or anybody who can understand you and give you that unconditional love and open up. But be honest with yourself. Like Arielle was saying, like some people, like, they wear long sleeves, you know, professionals and stuff. You don't know what's going on, but they haven't had that talk in the mirror where they say, you know what? This is the last time you have a grasp of me. This is the last time you have a hold of me. I'm going to take control of my body now. I'm the one who's going to take over. And no addiction is going to stop me from my potential for becoming anything in life. Because there's still dreams to be fulfilled. There's lives to be touched. There's definitely more things to discover in the world. And you are throwing your life out because addiction is holding of you. Take charge of your life. Take the bull by the horns and say, I am in control. You no longer control my mind, my body, my soul. I'm going to overcome this. And I will become one day a story that's going to inspire thousands and thousands. because I decided to. That's just it. You have to decide. You have to
Yes.
choose and say, I want to make a difference. I want to be part of the assistance. Arielle mentioned about fentanyl. That is one of the biggest things happening right now. I know people on this thing. This is more dangerous than it was way years ago. This is sad right now what's happening. Young cats, I see young dudes, young people on this thing. Their life is being thrown away because they don't speak out. Don't stay with that. Speak out. Yell out to the world. We're here. We're open, wide arms, receiving you because we don't judge nobody. We want you to become the best version of yourself. And you have the opportunity to make it happen.
Omar, yes, it's such an inspiration and just such a story. And thank you for sharing your story for the first time publicly here. I see your wife's arm coming around your shoulders. She's right there where she's probably always been by your side. And I think that Donna is right. And you just have to continue to share the love and the people that are in addiction. Some probably don't even know it. They're like you said it, Arielle, your brain is it's a fog, like life, it's just flashing by you. And they don't realize they're in it. They don't know how to get out of it if they do. It works for them, perhaps, in some ways, and they're stealing from people. They're destroying relationships, unconditional love relationships, because it's what they're in control of, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's what it took forever for me and her to have this relationship and to be where we are now. And that takes time, that takes patience, that takes love, that takes me looking in the mirror and realizing that I made these choices, that I'm an adult woman, and that I hurt people that really loved me and cared about me so much, because I made that choice to choose something else over my own self. Over somebody once told me that if you could see what I see in you, and I've always stuck on that. If you could have somebody see you what you don't see in yourself, imagine that. If somebody woke you up every day and told you you're amazing, you can do this, you can say that same thing to yourself, because that's what I say to myself every day. You got this. You did it. You're a year sober. You got this. You have to encourage yourself, because a lot of people don't have that stability. They don't have that love. They don't have that. But we are able to do that for ourselves. We are strong enough. We are capable enough to beat it by ourselves. We are, and we're so much stronger than what we give ourselves reality to. We are. And that's once we realize that, and once we hold on to that, as quick as we got on it, that's what the hardest thing was. I got on it so quick, but I couldn't get off of it. It took it forever and a day to get off of it, but I got on it so quick. If I put that same effort that I went out to get in my car to go get dope, if I took that same effort to go get groceries for my kids, to go pick them up for school. Mom used to tell me that all the time. Won't you put that same effort that you're putting in getting high into your kids or into yourself, and to realize that you have to have tough love. Tough love is key, and I'm going to say it, because some of us are built for it and some of us aren't. And I was built for it. Look who this.
Here's what I see. When I first met Donna Butler, I knew she was a star. There's certain people you just know she's a star. Then I met Arielle Butler, and Donna, you'll probably go, yeah, Siobhan, you said, we got to get her on the show. She's got to host a show. This was the attitude shift I'm talking about. But I knew she had that star quality. And then Jillian will probably agree that I told Jillian, I was like, that Omar, he's calling everybody else a rock star. But guess what he is? He is the rock star.
Yes.
He's the rock star of inspirational, motivational speakers. He should be training with Les Brown, who I found out is a really good friend of Dr. Ronnie's. So we have to hook you up, and you guys all have to get out on the road. Maybe we'll brush off that virtual red Corvette, Donna, and we'll get them doing a speaking circuit, because the world needs your stories. They need your inspiration. And I am so honored to have been the one to help you bring it out to the world today. So thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thank you so
Wow.
much.
Thank you. Thank all of you. And I know God has a plan for each and one of you on here tonight. No coincidence that we just collided at this one night, one show. Thank you, Siobhan, for everything you do. Jillian, Dr. Rosanna, Claudia, all of you amazing rock stars. Arielle, you just brought me more fire into me. And I wanna do more of what we're doing. Like you said, I want to give back more. Now it's time like that. Grow to
Yes.
give. What Siobhan says, we're gonna grow more personally to give more to others and empower others to become the best version of themselves. And I believe I'm going to see you on screens. I'm going to see you on TV shows. I'm going to see you in places. God's going to take you to greater and greater venues you ain't even experienced yet. What he has in store for you.
Okay.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
everybody just remember, Arielle is the lead of a new series coming out, Divine Intervention, and the writer and director is sitting right beside her right there. And we're all witness to it. So
Yes.
Divine Intervention was what happened tonight. And I thank you. Jillian, I want you to close it off, and I can tell everybody who's up next week, but you go ahead and
All right. Well, first of all, I'm very proud of each and every one of you that showed up and actually shared your story, because sometimes it's hard to hold on those secrets for so many years that it just it's like it's a dark presence in your heart that just seems to get bigger and bigger. And it's time to start learning to love yourself enough to let that go. And this is the whole premise of the show. This is the whole premise of my mission and in life, since I went through a dark space. And actually, Siobhan was part of that journey where I was in a dark space. I was sitting in my not addiction for me it was depression. I was lonely. And I wanted to hear some good stories. I wanted to hear the stories of triumph. So I started to have a little Monday night talk with a bunch of people that would show up. I created a tribe, people I love. And it started with a girl talk. It started with a bunch of girls getting together on a Zoom chat to help me feel good. I wanted to feel good again, and I wasn't feeling good for a long time. I needed that support. I needed to learn to love myself. And by surrounding myself with good people, I learned to love myself. I felt good again. I started to feel good. And that's my message to you guys. And this is what this came out. I mean, Claudia was part of one of those original shows, an original group where we just got together. So how can we support each other? There's so much misery in this world, including the stories that we've already been trying to overcome ourselves, but we don't share. So why aren't we having these talks? Why aren't we openly presenting these stories and giving people an alternative way to heal? And sometimes that just might be just a matter of listening to you, having somebody hear your story, hear your voice, and they maybe give you an alternative ways to heal, which could be even something you've never tried before. But it starts by finding your community. It's finding a place where people get you. It's finding a place where people where you can go where there's love and belonging, regardless of where you come from, regardless of the strife that you've had to overcome. Because it's all about the goodness you bring into the world today, now, and tomorrow, not what happened yesterday. So if you feel good right now, Arielle, don't go backwards. If you're feeling good right now, my challenge to you, and this is my mission in life, this is the reason why I created this vision. Feel good, share good. It's your journey, it's your obligation now, Arielle. It's your obligation, Omar. And I saw this in you. I saw the light in you. I saw the light in Claudia. I saw the light in Rosanna. I saw the light in Siobhan. And I said, that's why I have to be part of Growing to Give. I have to be part of something that's going to give back to the world, not just for today, but for tomorrow. This is my legacy. And regardless if my children don't want to talk to me today, I know they'll talk to me tomorrow. Okay? Mm-hmm. If they watch this, because I know they do, I love you and I love everybody. And all I want to do is pass love and guidance and goodness in the world. And we have to do it, each and every one of us, in part of our community. It's the reason why I'm joining this community that I'm with. I'm not here to plug, but I'm here because of the people and the mission that they have themselves. About feeling good, share good. And ultimately when you do that, what happens? You do the good, right, Siobhan? Now over
Excellent.
to you.
This has been Real Talk, where we keep it real to heal. Thank you so much, Arielle, Butler, Omar, Redamar, Jersey Boy, and make sure you guys watch Divine Intervention on Facebook. You can find it there. And Omar, you've got a For Life website. And what's your handle on that?
On the website,
Yeah.
www.forlife.com/my name, Omar Redamar.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, okay.
So Arielle, you'll be watching her on the small screens, big screens at the Emmys. Who knows where you'll be seeing Arielle? Yeah, very cool. So thank you, everybody. Good night.